We're here at the Berlin Wall, or what's left of the Berlin Wall, part of it. This place is one of the best places to see remains that are still intact. We're on what would have been the west side of the wall. So it used to be West Berlin in the time that the wall was put up.
Also, there used to be an SS headquarters right here, and the foundations are still here from that. Himmler himself had an office in this one.
The building's not here anymore because it was exploded in a bombing during World War. So far, our time in Berlin has been pretty educational.
When we got off the train, it wasn't too great of a first impression, but since then, the city's grown on me quite a bit. Yesterday we went to the Topography of Terror, which is a free exhibition that they have next to a part of the Berlin Wall that's still standing. It was extremely informative. You could spend probably 3 days straight there and still maybe not even get through everything. They have an entire exhibit outside along the wall, and inside they have a smaller museum. And it's so comprehensive. Right now, we are on a Holocaust memorial, which is a bunch of gray slabs of stone that get bigger and bigger the farther you go in, and the ground like dips up and down. It's kind of eerie, actually.
But it gets really quiet when you actually walk through. You think you're in the middle of the city, and then all of a sudden it just gets very quiet and eerie in there. So today on our walk we went past an awesome street festival, and we're not too sure if it's a gay pride festival or just a regular street festival, but we passed a bunch of awesome food and beer vendors and good music. At the very end of the stretch of road that's on, there's what's called the Victory Column. So we got to take a look at that. And the Victory Column is interesting because it's actually been moved. When Hitler was in power, it was next to the Reichstag, and he didn't like where it was because it didn't fit with his future plans of how he wanted Berlin to look. So they moved it to the inner corner of Tiergarten, which is that park you can see over there.
When they moved it, it lost about 724 meters, I believe it was, but it's still pretty tall. You can see it from a long ways away.
The Reichstag was another building that we passed that has really awesome architecture from the outside, and knowing that it's been partially destroyed many times, it still looks pretty fantastic. Obviously they've kept it updated. We also passed the Brandenburg Gate, which has many meanings as far as its appearance. It's quite an old gate, but during the time the Berlin Wall was put up, it was one of the gates that closed the wall between the east and the west. So it has a lot of meanings for people here in Germany, though for tourists it's just big and nice to look at.
Before it was part of the Berlin Wall, it played a part in the revolution of Germany in 1848, where the Germans were sick of Wilhelm's rule and rose up against him. A lot of them were killed right by that gate there, so it has its part in history.
Cutest thing I've seen ever. So we've been noticing that the ped lights are different in different areas of Berlin, and now I understand. And let me just nerd out for a moment here. That's for West Germany. And that's East Germany. I didn't realize you can tell which side of the old wall you would have been on based on your street lights. I'm so amazed that I found that out. Slight traffic engineering dream job nerd out moment. Over. So this is Humboldt University. This is Bevel Platz. And this is the location from the night that all the Nazi students that went to the campus at the time burnt all the non-German books.
So we're at the top of what's called Berlin Dom, which just means, believe it or not, Berlin Dome, but it actually does have something to do with like a Catholic meaning to it, but it turns out it's actually a Protestant church, so they just called it that, I'm pretty sure, because there's a giant dome up top which you can't see from here. But I wanted to go up this thing right here, which is called Fernsehturm, which literally translates to TV tower, but it's
Sputnik.
like, or you can call it Sputnik because it kind of looks like a Sputnik-like thing. But it's like the biggest tourist trap in this entire city, aside from the hot air balloon that goes up for 12 minutes and you pay like €1 a minute. So we came up here instead, and it's still a pretty good view, I must admit. There's a lot of cranes because the city is constantly under refurbishment, which is not a bad thing because it means that they're trying to preserve what's already there, which is good. It's a very interesting skyline. You have a mix of church spires and skyscraper buildings, tall apartment buildings, random domes, a couple of giant towers. There's a lovely little canal here. There's a lot of museums around here too, which you can all see from up here.
Crazy festival. So that building over there is the club known as Tresor.
No, it's a floor. Is that what the club's called?
Yeah.
Okay.
There's 2 dance floors, 2 different kinds of music. It doesn't even open till midnight, and it goes to like 7:30 in the morning. We didn't make it that late.
No. We have a train to catch, and that's the excuse we're going with.
But oh my god, was that not the best? Oh my god, I just can't even handle.
I mean, as far as clubs go, it was all right. I usually hate clubs, but that one was pretty good. You can get into it pretty easily. Also, it's great because people give you personal space, which is actually one of the best things I've ever had in a club ever.
The club's for dancing.
Yeah, it
and
really
dance
is.
We did. And we ran into Nisha and Roz and her 2 friends, which was so random because we didn't realize we would be in the same city, in the same club, in the bathroom at the same time. So go figure. Awesome night. So awesome. Enjoying the sunshine?
Yep.
It's a gorgeous day here in Stuttgart, so we're hanging out at this park, just enjoying the weather, which is a nice change from all our not bad weather, unfortunately chilly weather. We've got rain, lots of rain. I'm pretty sick of the rain, but this is nice, and a change from lots of walking. We're just people watching right now, unless Emily falls asleep.
Not yet.
So this is our last day on our Germany part of our trip, and
We are in Stuttgart right now, which is in southern Germany.
yep, we chose to spend a day here just to check out a smaller, less touristy city in Germany.
Also because it's nice as a break between Geneva and Berlin, just because if we went straight from Berlin to Berlin to Switzerland, it would be like a 12-hour, 14-hour train ride, so it's a nice break in between. It's a rest day today.
I really like this place.
It is. Yeah.
Though, I mean, it's nothing like, oh, gotta come back here, memorable, but it's got a really cool city center area with a nice long ped walk with lots of shops, and here's a nice park we're sitting in with the palace in the background, and some fountains, and the weather's gorgeous, so it's busy here. Everyone's out enjoying the sun.
The terrain is very different than Berlin, which is also something we weren't expecting. It's kind of, the only thing I can think to compare it to is San Francisco-y with the hills.
Not quite that hilly.
It's not that hilly, but there are quite a few hills, and right along the outsides of the city, there's very high hills with houses and stuff built up on them. So it's quite the change from Berlin, but not in a bad way at all.
There's actually a hill. We're not going to make it because we don't have enough time. It's a little bit far away. You can hike to the top, and there's actually 40 extra meters on top of this old hill because they put all the rubble from Stuttgart after World War II. They piled it all there as a type of memorial. Crazy to think that apparently 80% of Stuttgart was completely flattened and destroyed during World War II.
And you can see that because there's a lot of newer buildings in here. It's not as old as a lot of the cities that we've seen. So it makes sense that they would have rebuilt it up after all the bombings during World War II. But there's also an observatory at the top of the hill, which we're not going to make it to, just because we also don't have the willpower to walk that far when we're just trying to enjoy the sun.
But overall, as far as Berlin and Stuttgart goes, I really did like experiencing Germany. Berlin was interesting. There was a lot of tourists, naturally. We were in an interesting area being Kreuzberg, just seeing the more, definitely younger population, and that's where the nightlife is. So the club we went to was awesome.
Tell us about the club, Brianna.
It was just great. I just loved it. It was huge. It was in an old warehouse, and there was 2 different floors playing very different kinds of house music. It was very different. Berlin is one of the starting places of techno music as we know it, so they are still very with their roots as far as kind of music that they play in these clubs, and Tresor is kind of world renowned in that techno scene, so I learned as far as kind of being a foothold for a lot of new deep house music. So that was a cool experience. The top floor felt very club-like, but when you went downstairs, they'd left it as an old, creepy warehouse.
It was very warehouse-like.
Full of smoke, and it was just nothing we'd ever experienced before. There would be pictures and more videos, but you weren't supposed to film or take pictures inside, so I think there's one sneaky shot.
Apparently they take it very seriously.
Well, you want to feel comfortable in an environment where people aren't just taking selfies and Snapchatting the entire time, so I understand. It's kind of an interesting perspective. But yeah, and then we went into Mitte, which is where all the tourist things in Berlin was, and as you saw, there's a lot of it to see. But I liked seeing all that history and experiencing that history, and it's so comprehensive, so that was really awesome. So as far as those experiences go, I really liked Berlin. As the city itself, I wasn't a huge fan, but I definitely liked what we got to experience while we were there.
It wasn't my favorite city either, but there's really something about being in this place where you've learned your entire life, particularly with our father drilling World War I and II facts into us all our lives. It's quite almost surreal to be in the place where all of it took place, particularly because Berlin was the center of everything for the most part. So that it was kind of hard to wrap your head around, but it was, once you did wrap your head around it, it was quite fantastic, I guess. But I would maybe go back to Berlin if I had a bit more time, just to do a little bit more I'd like to stay in the actual Mitte area and do a little more comprehensive exploring and learning and stuff, but our feet just can't handle it this time, and we only had a couple days there. But from what we did get, it was a very good experience. I'm glad we made it there.
So now we're off to Geneva in Switzerland to see the Palace of Nations and a tour of CERN, which both of us are very excited about, both of those for the respective people here. And so yeah, we'll see you in Geneva.